My twin sister and I became pregnant at the same time, but she developed kidney inflammation early in her pregnancy. If it continued until full term, her condition would progress to kidney failure. Despite being heavily pregnant myself, I personally held the scalpel and performed an early C-section for her in the 32nd week. Fortunately, both mother and baby were safe, and my sister's kidney function returned to normal. But unexpectedly, the baby was born prematurely and had a slightly weaker constitution. Because of this, my sister harbored resentment towards me. On the day of my daughter's 100-day celebration, my sister arrived late because her son had pneumonia and had to be hospitalized. Her face was ashen. She rushed straight over and violently threw my daughter to the ground. If you hadn't forced me to give birth early, it would be my son celebrating his 100 days today. My daughter suffered a cerebral hemorrhage leading to cerebral palsy. My sister, upon hearing the news, let out a triumphant laugh. Why should my son suffer in the hospital while your daughter is healthy? You should also experience the agony of watching your own flesh and blood suffer while you stand by, helpless. I was enraged, my blood boiling. I grabbed her tightly, and we tumbled down the stairs together. When I opened my eyes again, I saw her raising her swollen arm, her face filled with panic. Ruby, our pregnancies are almost at the same stage, so why are you perfectly fine, yet my body caves in with every touch? Mom said that when we were in her womb, I couldn't compete with you for nutrients. My health has always been poor since childhood. I was often sick. I don't remember those childhood stories, and I never believed them, but now it seems they were true. Boo-hoo, Ruby, what's wrong with me? I'm so scared, you have to take care of me. Chloe Zhao clasped my hand, shaking it, acting spoiled as usual. So much so that in my previous life, I had overlooked the unconscious resentment revealed in her words. I looked at the swollen hands before me, my heart brimming with overwhelming hatred. In my previous life, these very hands had cruelly thrown my daughter, who had just celebrated her 100 days, a tiny, delicate dumpling I had cherished in my palm, high into the air and then violently onto the ground. My daughter's small mouth had been smiling at me just a second before. The next second, fresh blood poured out relentlessly. I unconsciously clenched my fist, my fingertips turning white. Chloe cried out in pain and quickly pulled her hand back. What are you doing, Ruby? If my husband weren't away on a business trip, I wouldn't bother coming to this rundown public hospital of yours. She continued, you have no sense of service at all. Even though my mother-in-law said that sowing the seeds early increases the chances of having a son, my urine looks a little red today. Chloe frowned, waved her hand, and gave me a sideways glance. Halfway through her sentence, she deliberately paused for a few seconds. I suddenly realized this was her familiar tactic. Since childhood, whenever she wanted something or needed me to do something, she never asked directly. Instead, she would always present her difficult circumstances to me, waiting for me to take the initiative to help. In the end, if anything went wrong, she could play the victim and innocently shift all the blame onto me. In my previous life, she had clearly cried, saying she couldn't bear to lose the baby, nor could she bear to let our parents lose her. That's why I had to gamble my entire career, take on this hot potato, and perform an early C-section for her while I was also pregnant. But in her narrative, it became that because I was pregnant with a girl, I was jealous she was pregnant with a boy, so I had deliberately orchestrated everything. This time, I will not interfere with any of Chloe's decisions. I will take good care of my daughter to ensure she grows up safely. I want to see if she will truly sacrifice her life to carry the baby to term. On the day her kidneys fail, how much of her so-called motherly love will remain? I bowed my head, scribbled a few lines on the paper, and returned her medical record. This situation is quite complex. It's not solely within the scope of obstetrics. I recommend you visit cardiology and nephrology for further examination. I spoke like a public servant, gave my instructions, and then called out the door, "Next patient, please." Chloe's eyes widened, staring at me. "Ruby, you work at this hospital, yet you're telling me to go find another doctor. Do you think I won't call Mom?" Oh, this trick again. My ears were almost calloused from hearing it. Because my sister and I are twins, our parents lost the opportunity to have a second child in their desperate attempt for a son. Their regret gradually turned into anger, and anger always needs an outlet. My sister had been sickly since childhood, consuming most of their energy. Perhaps because they had invested so much in her, she was pampered within an inch of her life. As for me, the healthy and sensible one, I became their emotional punching bag. Whenever my sister and I had a dispute, our parents would always scold me without distinguishing right from wrong. I cleaned my ear, stood up, and washed my hands. Then please make the call, and while you're at it, pay the registration fee for the consultation. Chloe furiously slammed the door shut and stormed off. After finishing my workday, I noticed dozens of missed calls from Mom on my silenced phone. She was still persistently calling. The moment I picked up, I heard her familiar critical tone. "Can you act a little more like an older sister? Chloe is pregnant, and you let her go alone like that. Her swelling is truly severe. Hurry and find a specialist at your hospital to examine her." I chuckled aloud. "Mom, you must not remember, I'm also pregnant. I'm just a small attending physician, not the hospital director. I don't have such great power." Moreover, she despises public hospitals like ours. Perhaps her beloved husband should take her to a high-end private hospital to see a reputable specialist. I hung up the phone, rubbing my flat stomach with both hands, deep in thought. In my previous life, when I saw Chloe's entire body swollen and indented, my heart sank. This kind of edema is clinically common in heart failure and kidney disease. Either of these, appearing in a pregnant woman only 6 weeks along, was a major problem. I immediately decided to take Chloe to the hospital for a series of comprehensive tests. The results were not much different from my predictions. Chloe threw herself into my arms, sobbing uncontrollably. "Ruby, I can't lose this baby. You know better than anyone how difficult this pregnancy has been for me. How many herbal concoctions have I drunk these past few years? How many folk remedies have I tried? I can't even count them anymore." After that came IVF. That long egg retrieval needle twisted inside me. I only got pregnant after 3 failures. In my previous life, I watched Chloe cry incessantly in my arms. Thinking of the hardships she had endured for years, my heart ached. Her husband's family had been single sons for 3 generations. Although they didn't have vast wealth, they were very traditional and demanded a son to carry on the family name. Therefore, my sister had suffered greatly for years without children. It wasn't until Chloe became pregnant that her life in her in-laws' home gradually became a little easier. According to treatment standards, terminating the pregnancy in the early stages to treat kidney disease is a normal procedure. But Chloe adamantly refused, threatening me from the rooftop. "Ruby, if this baby lives, I live. If it doesn't, you will never see me again." I had no choice but to quickly agree. I researched countless documents and even took her test results to the capital city to consult with a top obstetrics and gynecology expert. The expert told me, "Given your sister's situation, if she is unwilling to abort and continues the pregnancy to full term, it is very likely to lead to kidney failure. At that point, she would go straight from the delivery room to dialysis." I proposed whether it would be feasible to perform an early C-section before my sister reached the threshold of kidney failure. After discussion, the experts still felt the risks were too high, fearing 1 body, 2 lives, mother and child, if not careful, so they refused to take the case. Chloe cried and begged me to find a way. She was willing to pay any price for her child. Helpless, I could only admit Chloe to our department, monitoring her indicators daily. In the 32nd week, Chloe's blood indicators suddenly soared, showing signs of kidney failure. I, heavily pregnant, had no choice but to personally take the scalpel and perform an early C-section for her. Fortunately, the baby weighed 2 kilograms and could be discharged after 2 weeks in the incubator. Chloe was transferred to the nephrology department for treatment for a while, and her kidney function also recovered normally. Everything was almost perfect. The only thing was that Chloe's son, due to premature birth, had a slightly weak immune system. In the months after birth, he frequently had to be hospitalized for colds and fevers. I comforted her, saying that with careful nurturing, he would gradually get better after 3 years old. Later, I gave birth to my daughter at full term. With more chores, I gradually contacted Chloe less often. On the day of my daughter's 100-day celebration, Chloe's son was hospitalized again with pneumonia. I helped her contact a doctor, telling her she didn't need to come. I would visit her and my nephew after the party. But Chloe only replied half a day later, "No need, don't let it spoil your happy day." I suppressed the strange feeling in my heart and held my daughter for commemorative photos that day. Halfway through the party, Chloe, with a grim face, pushed open the large door and walked in. It wasn't until my precious daughter was violently thrown to the ground by her that I realized she had long harbored deep resentment towards me. The kindness I thought I had shown her, in her eyes, was all pretense, all manipulative schemes. The clinic door was pushed open. My husband had come to pick me up from work. Sitting in the passenger seat, I sent the documents I had researched in my previous life to our harmonious family group chat, which also included Chloe's husband, Ethan, who. Meng, I stayed up late researching documents. Your swelling might be due to kidney inflammation. This disease, if treated early, isn't complicated, but the medication used will have very significant side effects on the fetus. As soon as I sent it, my sister quickly replied, "You don't need to worry, I know my own body. It's just normal swelling from pregnancy." My mother-in-law said that when she was pregnant with her 2 older daughters, she had no reactions at all. She was still weeding in the fields before going to give birth. But when she was pregnant with Ethan, she swelled severely as soon as she knew and had to stay in bed for months. My mother-in-law said that's because having a son brings great fortune, and she got to enjoy it too, not having to work. I've also quit my job and am preparing to stay home and nurture my pregnancy. She hurriedly cut me off, eagerly proving her reproductive value to Ethan, who. It seemed her excuse of, "My husband is away on a business trip," for coming to see me was a complete fabrication. She didn't dare let her in-laws know her true health condition. In her youth, Chloe was reckless. She got pregnant but didn't dare tell her family. She secretly went to a small clinic with her boyfriend and had 2 abortions. As a result, her uterine lining became too thin. After getting married, she couldn't conceive for several years. After I graduated and started working at the hospital, she feared her in-laws would be displeased if they knew the truth. She asked me to secretly take her to the infertility clinic for treatment. When there were no results for a long time, I even helped her conceal the cause of her infertility, blaming it on her husband's poor sperm quality. Finally, she became pregnant successfully through IVF. Coincidentally, I had just discovered I was pregnant at that time too. I even happily thought this was a gift from God for our twin sister's destiny. Half a day later, Ethan, who spoke in the group chat. "Wife, you've worked so hard during your pregnancy. I truly wish I could bear this hardship for you. Mom is worried you don't have an appetite, so she specially pickled some temple pickles. She said she craved salty foods when she was pregnant with me. You must be the same. You need to eat a lot during this time." I couldn't help but roll my eyes. The most important thing in treating a patient is to control their salt intake. In my previous life, I meticulously calculated the exact amount of salt in my sister's 3 meals every day. I personally cooked her nutritious meals rich in high-quality protein. That's how she managed to hold on until 32 weeks. This time, if she eats so many pickled foods every day, I'm afraid she'll develop uremia soon. I didn't actively coax Chloe or try to break the ice as before. She also seemed to be holding her breath. For an entire month, she didn't contact me. Only Mom called me several times in anger, saying that if my sister fell ill because of me, she wouldn't live either. I seized the opportunity. "Mom, then I won't buy your high blood pressure medication for you anymore, okay? If anything happens to you, I won't be able to explain myself." Mom was so angry she threw her phone. Without these petty disturbances, life was quiet and joyful, and I safely passed the early stage of my pregnancy. My prenatal checkups went smoothly. But unexpectedly, Chloe, whom I hadn't seen for over a month, actively sought me out this time. The swelling on her body had reduced a little, but she had scratched herself all over, leaving hardly a patch of intact skin. "Ruby, I haven't been able to urinate for 3 days, and Ethan says I have bad breath. He hasn't been home for over 10 days. Her whole body was itchy and smelled foul, with anuria and an ammonia odor. I compared her symptoms with those of kidney failure, and they almost perfectly matched. It seemed that without my care this time, she had courted death, leading to earlier kidney failure. At only 12 weeks, she had already reached the end stage of uremia. Now, only timely dialysis could alleviate the symptoms. No matter how foolish Chloe was, she would surely have searched online. She had also realized her current condition. She could no longer deceive herself with a mere pregnancy reaction. I personally took her to the nephrology department and helped her register for a consultation. The nephrology doctor finished the examination and simply shook his head. "Miss Zhao, there's no other way for you. You absolutely must undergo dialysis, but dialysis filters all the blood in your body. We must terminate the pregnancy first. Chloe was still struggling in despair, clutching a glimmer of hope as she asked, but my baby is still so small. Terminating it now means it definitely won't survive, if we wait a little longer. The nephrology doctor firmly closed the medical record. If you don't undergo dialysis now, you probably won't live more than a year. Both of you, please consider the consequences carefully before making a decision. If I live until after giving birth and then seek treatment, the only option will be a kidney transplant. Kidney sources aren't that easy to find. Chloe walked out of the consulting room, bewildered, clutching her belly, and sank to her knees beside me, crying, "Ruby, what should I do now? I can't bear to lose the baby. It hasn't even seen this world yet. We are truly pitiful." But my healthy daughter in the previous life, because of her stubbornness, could never open her eyes to this world again. Wasn't she pitiful? I stepped back 2 paces, my voice cold. "Such a big decision, I can't help you make it. After all, both your body and the baby are yours." I called Ethan, who to pick her up. A long while later, Ethan, who arrived, muttering with a look of disgust, completely different from the image of the loving husband who had vowed to bear Chloe's suffering not long ago. He reeked of rose perfume. Chloe didn't force him to explain. "We're both pregnant women. Why is my sister fine, but I'm stinking to death and making you sick? What am I supposed to do if I don't spray perfume? Throw up on me?" Chloe and he argued, then left. I thought I would soon hear that Chloe had an abortion, but after waiting more than a week, she still didn't come. I couldn't help but ask her, "What have you decided?" Chloe reverted to her previous cold tone. "The baby is innocent after all, and it's not the end of the road yet. As a mother, I cannot take its life." I was surprised. I didn't expect that, even in this situation, she would still choose to keep the baby, but she was digging her own grave. I was too lazy to care. The months passed neither quickly nor slowly. Chloe's subsequent checkups no longer took place at our hospital. Soon it was the 32nd week. I finished my prenatal checkup and prepared to take early leave. As soon as I completed the procedures and got into the car, I received a call from Mom. "Your sister fainted. The doctor said she needs an emergency C-section, or it will be 1 body, 2 lives. They need to sign a lot of consent forms, things I've never even heard of." Mom then sent a voice message, desperately pleading. What great animosity could there be between blood sisters? Mom admits she was biased before. Mom was wrong. Mom is dying. If your sister doesn't make it, just consider this your last visit to her. Please, Mom is begging you, okay? Mom had never humbled herself to speak to me like that. The voice message played on speakerphone. My husband, in the driver's seat, heard it. He also advised me, "It's on our way home anyway. How about we drop by and see her for a bit?" "It's okay, I'm here now," he said. He knew I used to take great care of Chloe and was surprised by our recent estrangement. Every time he brought it up, I would dismiss it vaguely. After my husband finished speaking, he signaled and turned left towards that hospital. I stared at my phone, a strange feeling in my heart growing stronger. I quickly replayed everything in my mind, trying to find the reason. When I scrolled to the last call record I made to Chloe, I suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Chloe had said on the phone that it wasn't the end of the road yet. So now, perhaps, it was the end of the road. For her disease to find a way to survive, only a kidney transplant would work, and I, her twin sister, was the most likely match. Thinking of this, I quickly called my husband. My husband turned around, saw my pale face, and was startled. He quickly pulled over. "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well, wife?" I was about to tell him everything and my suspicions, but as I looked up, I saw the hospital gate from the address Mom sent, right outside the car window. My husband explained, "I heard Mom sounded urgent on the phone, and I was worried you'd be anxious, so I drove a bit fast. Are you carsick?" As we spoke, I saw Mom, Dad, and Ethan who running towards us from the hospital's main lobby. My husband, unaware of the situation, was about to open the car door to greet them. I quickly grabbed his hand. "Go, I have a terrible stomachache." Perhaps my pale face was too frightening. My husband panicked. "Then that's great, we're at the hospital. I'll take you to see a doctor." I cut him off. "I am a doctor. This hospital isn't even a second-tier hospital. It has no obstetrics department at all. Quickly take me to our hospital." Ethan, who had already run to the car window, trying to pull open the door. I locked the car doors and windows tightly. In my husband's puzzled eyes, I shouted, "Go!" Fortunately, Although my husband didn't fully understand the situation, seeing my anger, he numbly started the car quickly, making a U-turn on the spot and leaving the group of people behind. Lying on the examination bed in our department, I saw the steady waveform from the fetal heart monitor, and my wildly beating heart gradually calmed down. I tightly held my husband's hand, took a sip of water from the thermos, and slowly recounted everything that had happened during this time. I was now in the final stage of pregnancy, no longer as agile as before, and Chloe might not live much longer. What crazy things would a person do in despair? I dared not gamble with my life and the baby in my womb. Our parents were unreliable. My husband was my only ally. I took out my phone and showed him. Indeed, Mom, seeing us turn the car around and leave, realized I had seen through their plan. She was so furious she didn't bother to pretend anymore, directly cursing in voice messages. Ruby Zhao, you've been selfish since childhood. Your flesh and blood sister is now in a hospital bed, her life hanging by a thread, and you don't even care to look. How can your heart be so hard? Because you didn't come, the surgery failed, and now the baby has to be in an incubator. Moreover, the doctor said your sister has kidney failure. Dialysis is useless now, she needs a kidney transplant. If you have any conscience left, hurry here and donate a kidney to your sister, or I don't have a daughter like you. I had long anticipated this outcome, so my emotions remained unaffected. The readings on the monitor also showed no changes. But my husband, infuriated by Mom's unreasonable and hypocritical arguments, clenched his fists, then heartbrokenly pulled me into a tight embrace. No wonder you've been acting strangely lately. I thought it was due to pregnancy. I never expected your parents to be so biased. You're also pregnant now, and they're trying to trick you into donating a kidney. Chloe Zhao's life is a life, but in their eyes, yours and our child's lives are worthless. The baby in my womb suddenly kicked me. I pulled my husband's hand and we both gently patted the baby. Honey, some people never look for the cause within themselves. Happy people yield. We don't need to interfere with others' karma. Chloe's initial choice to keep the baby was her own decision. Since things have come to this, she should bear the consequences of that decision herself. After discussing, we decided to temporarily move to a small house in the suburbs that my in-laws bought for retirement. We would deal with everything else after our daughter was born. But some people couldn't wait that long. Chloe's kidneys had severely deteriorated. To trick me into donating a kidney, the private hospital she found was very rudimentary and completely lacked dialysis equipment. At her strong insistence, she was transferred to the nephrology department of our hospital. After 3 dialysis sessions, her condition improved a little. The first thing Chloe did after getting out of bed was to come to the obstetrics department to find me. A colleague recounted to me that Chloe, dressed in a patient gown, knelt directly in front of my old clinic door, crying and saying, "Ruby, I know my request is very selfish, but now I truly have no other way. Xiao Bao was just born. If I can just live until he's weaned, I'll be content. Everyone online says some people are born with only 1 kidney, and it doesn't affect their lives at all. Although we are twins, you weighed 1 kilo more than me at birth. Your constitution is good. Even if you donate a kidney to me, it won't affect you at all." She cried for half a day, and seeing no one respond, she pushed open the clinic door, only to find an expert with graying hair sitting there. My colleague told her, "I applied for leave 2 weeks ago. I won't be back at work until after my baby is born." Chloe collapsed. "Then what should I do? Waiting for her to give birth will take at least another month. I can't wait that long." The doctor said, "Now you've missed the best time for a kidney transplant. Even with good maintenance, it will only last 10 years at most. If you wait another month, even if you undergo a transplant, the rejection reaction will be very severe, possibly even fatal due to infection." "I don't believe you can't contact Ruby Zhao. Aren't you angels in white? How can you be so cold-blooded? Are you just going to stand by and watch me die here?" Chloe cried and made a scene. My colleague called security to take her back to the nephrology department on a stretcher. After telling me this, my colleague still seemed a bit uneasy and cautioned me. "Ruby, your sister is acting crazy, saying she has many ways to force you to show up. You are in the final stage of pregnancy now. A big problem could happen if you're not careful. Maybe you should call the police." I hung up the phone, hesitating for a moment before deciding not to call 911. After all, Chloe hadn't caused any actual harm to me yet, and I couldn't use memories from my previous life as evidence. Moreover, Once the police get involved, it's hard to avoid requiring both parties to mediate face-to-face. If she saw my firm refusal to donate a kidney to her, and her only hope shattered, given her stubborn personality, she might very well try to drag me down with her before she died. A wise man avoids dangerous walls. I couldn't risk myself. The only strategy now was to buy time. I asked my colleague to help me get Chloe's medical records. The data showed that her kidney function had completely deteriorated, and the frequency of dialysis was as high as once a day. Moreover, she had just undergone a C-section, and her body was extremely weak. At this rate, I'm afraid she would be bedridden soon. I had enough time to deal with her. To avoid meeting Chloe, I decisively changed hospitals for my prenatal checkups, paying a high fee at a private obstetrics and gynecology hospital and starting a new record. Many celebrities also chose to give birth at this hospital, and client information was highly confidential. But just as I was having my regular prenatal checkup, as soon as I removed the fetal heart monitor belt, I saw several pregnant women gathered, whispering about something. As I passed them, they immediately dispersed as if I were a plague. Before I could understand, the head of the obstetrics department approached me. "Ms. Zhao, I'm afraid you'll have to change hospitals." Following the head of the department's suggestion, I saw my name and photo on the city's trending news leaderboard, accompanied by a sensational headline: "I contracted S after a blood transfusion for my S-infected sister. Now I have kidney failure, but she stands by and watches me die." I opened the video. Chloe, looking sickly and wearing a patient gown, sat in front of the camera, crying torrentially. My sister, when she was young, her private life wasn't very proper. Not only did she have promiscuous relationships, but she also often had many needle marks on her body. One time, she was in a car accident. The hospital said there was no blood of her type in the blood bank, and they could only contact family members to donate blood. At that time, we were studying in the same city. I immediately rushed over because time was urgent, and my sister had lost too much blood. The hospital said, "We can only draw your blood, perform a simple filter, and immediately transfuse it for your sister." But doing so would carry the risk of cross-infection of communicable diseases. I didn't think twice and agreed immediately. I had 1,000 ml of blood drawn on the spot. Fortunately, my sister's life was saved. But after getting the test results, we found out my sister had I was infected because I shared a blood transfusion line with her. My sister spoke haltingly. I almost burst out laughing. I didn't know which short film she got this script from. This was truly insane. Not to mention that direct blood transfusions between direct relatives are not allowed at all. Furthermore, no hospital would perform a blood transfusion without testing, let alone draw 1,000 ml. Did she think I was a faucet? Although I knew this was all her fabrication, netizens believed it. Perhaps they watched the same short film as Chloe. Chloe exposed her skinny arm, which was covered in bruises from frequent dialysis, looking very pitiful. Since I contracted S, my health has been poor. My sister even often forgot to get her S treatment medication and secretly ate my medication, replacing my medicine with sleeping pills. The doctor said that I developed kidney failure because I took too many sleeping pills, putting too much burden on my kidneys. I'm only 29 years old. I clearly tried to live so hard, but fate is too unfair. She looked into the camera, tears streaming down her face. "Ruby, I beg you, please, consider that I once saved your life. Can you donate a kidney to me? Our parents are old and my child is young. I truly just want to be with them a little longer." I was speechless. I looked up at the head of the obstetrics department. "Chief, netizens lack professional knowledge. It's understandable that they're deceived by Chloe's fabrications, but you are a medical professional. Do you also believe such absurd claims?" The chief said helplessly, "Ms. Zhao, I naturally don't believe it, but you just saw for yourself. The pregnant women who come to our hospital all recognize you. They refuse to use the equipment you've been examined with and even don't want to be in the same room as you. I can't explain medical knowledge to each person individually. Moreover, people are very cautious now. Sometimes it's better to believe there is a problem than to believe there isn't, especially wealthy people. We are a private hospital, a business, and we don't want to attract more trouble." The chief hadn't finished speaking, but I understood his meaning. I could only accept the refund and leave. I understood. Chloe had said she had enough ways to force me to show up. Inciting public opinion to twist facts and confuse right and wrong was her tactic. Only then could Chloe successfully build her image as a victim. But a lie, after all, is a lie. My husband came home and told me his car had been vandalized. His agency's director advised him to stay home and rest for a while. Someone even sent wreaths to the hospital where I worked, threw rotten eggs at my introduction board. The hospital director personally informed me, telling me to properly handle my personal problems and not affect the hospital's reputation. I knew I couldn't just hide and drag things out anymore. I had to directly solve the problem. I took Chloe's phone number off my blacklist and asked her, "What do you want me to do for you to let me go, just as you wish?" I pretended to be weak. I arranged to meet Chloe at a coffee shop to talk things through, promising that as long as she came forward to explain everything, I would agree to anything. Chloe arrived on time. To hide her haggard appearance and not seem pathetic in front of me, she even wore heavy makeup. The moment she entered, she stared at my bulging belly, a flicker of hatred in her eyes, then smugly said, "Aren't you afraid I'll harm your belly? Why don't you keep hiding? Can't stand it in your rat hole anymore. I don't mind telling you I had someone follow your husband and knew where you were hiding a long time ago. But I can't force you to go and have a kidney removed. After all, that's illegal. I want you to give it to me voluntarily." Ruby Zhao, my demand is very simple. Donate a kidney to me. Don't use those ridiculous excuses like incompatibility to fool me. I already bought your blood sample from the hospital where you had your prenatal checkups and had an urgent compatibility test done. I don't have much time left. Within 3 days, you must come for the surgery. If not, I die, and you die too. I stalled, pleading miserably. "Xiao Meng, you can't fabricate stories about me having S like that. Do you know? Such a sensitive issue, even if I clear my name later, no hospital will ever accept me again. Moreover, you were clearly the one who had promiscuous relationships initially. You had 2 abortions at a small clinic, and the curettage was too deep, leading to a thin uterine lining, making pregnancy impossible. And it was me who helped you hide it from your in-laws and husband and get infertility treatment." Chloe interrupted me. "So what? People only believe what they want to believe. If I didn't say you had S, how could it generate such high traffic? Only sensitive topics can attract everyone's attention. Stop talking nonsense. I'm in bed number 13 at your hospital. I'm only waiting for you for 3 days. If you don't come, I'll live stream myself jumping from your hospital rooftop. When one's life is at stake in a scheme, it's a death trap. By then, if I die, you won't be able to wash yourself clean even if you jump into the Yellow River. Think it over." I supported my back, deliberately thrusting out my belly. "Xiao Meng, initially when you were severely swollen, I advised you to get your kidneys checked, but you insisted it was a normal pregnancy reaction. Later, you were diagnosed with kidney failure, and I also advised you that you could have children again later. You were young, you should treat your illness first. It wouldn't be too late to have children after finding a kidney source. But you refused. You said you would sacrifice your life to carry the baby to term. Actually, if you had gotten checked and treated early, perhaps both you and the baby would have been healthy. Motherly love is truly great. How is your baby doing now?" Seeing me mention her son, Chloe didn't act like a kind mother at all, unlike in my previous life. She wore a disgusted, even resentful expression. "It's all because of that good-for-nothing. If it weren't for him in my womb, I might not even have gotten kidney inflammation, much less kidney failure. I risked my life to give birth to him, and what did I get? A sickly, weak child who spent a long time in an incubator. Even after being discharged, he's sick every 3 days." Perhaps no one usually listens to her complaints. I just needed to open the door a little, and she became a gossip, pouring out all her suffering. Ethan, who is also a heartless scoundrel. When Xiao Bao was first born, he was overjoyed, but later, seeing the child constantly sick, he lost his patience. Now he even tells me that his mistress outside is also pregnant and tells me to leave empty-handed with my sick child. After Chloe finished speaking, she quickly urged me, "These 3 days, you must have the baby removed quickly. Don't delay donating a kidney to me. My body is too weak now. After I get my kidney transplant, I must make that vixen miscarry. Only my bloodline can continue the Hu family name. By then, Ethan Hu will lose all hope and will come back to me." Seeing the timing was ripe, I waved my hand towards the table next to us. My husband emerged from behind the potted plant, holding a phone that was live streaming. I smiled at the camera. Is everyone enjoying the story? Did you all hear clearly? If you haven't watched from the beginning, click follow and turn on notifications. There will be a replay of the live stream in the fan group. Only then did Chloe realize she had been set up. She lunged to snatch the phone, but my husband dodged, and she stumbled and fell to the ground. Chloe didn't give up. She stared intently at my belly. Ruby Zhao, I gave you a chance to remove that trash in your belly. In the dim light, something flashed with a cold gleam. Chloe, as if having a final burst of energy, showed no signs of a dying patient. She quickly stood up, swinging the sharp knife in her hand towards my belly. With a gunshot, the police outside, through the glass, shot accurately at Chloe's wrist. Before coming here, I had called the police. Although Chloe wouldn't live much longer, I was about to give birth, and I couldn't give her half a chance. I also wanted my daughter to witness firsthand the perpetrator who harmed her in the previous life receiving due punishment. But my hands are meant to save people. They cannot be stained. She turned her head and stared at me. Ruby Zhao, why have I never been as good as you since birth? My health isn't as good as yours, my academic performance isn't as good as yours, fine. I suffered so much to get pregnant, and you turn around and get pregnant too. In mom's womb, you already suppressed me. Now, even the status of a pregnant woman, you want to compete with me for. Your feigned kindness and care for me are just to satisfy your vanity, to stand on moral high ground, so that I have to be grateful and indebted to you. My entire life, I have lived under your shadow. I am not reconciled. I never thought, even after reliving a life, that Chloe's resentment towards me ran so deep. I had always been patient and forgiving towards her, only to end up harboring a viper in my bosom. The only difference is that, in this life, I chose to stay away early, so I won't be bitten again. The live stream in my husband's hand hadn't been turned off yet. In an instant, the live stream's popularity soared to millions, and gifts like Navan were continuously sent. This comeback is amazing. I've seen wolves in sheep's clothing, but never one so wolfish. The police officers are so majestic. I even got to witness a live police enforcement. I have to send 10 rockets in support. That shot was spot on. It hit me right in the heart. Intemiu moved too fast. Mine's blank. Big brother, you have to take full responsibility. The police signaled me to turn off the live stream and prepared to take Chloe away. You can't go. If you go and leave this sick burden to us, how will my son's family find a new wife later? Chloe's mother-in-law rushed in from outside, holding a newborn baby, defying the police's obstruction. She thrust the baby into Chloe's arms. Chloe instinctively reached out to catch it, but touched her wound, her face immediately turning pale. Yet, she seemed not to feel the pain, holding the baby and smiling foolishly. You're not my child, you're a devil, you're the one who clung to me, that's why I'm in this state. She suddenly dropped the crazed smile from her face, her expression turning sinister. With all her strength, she raised the baby high with her arm, just like in my previous life, intending to throw the baby to the ground. The moment she held the baby, my heart tightened. Before anyone could react, I instinctively reached out to catch it. The baby fell into my arms. My husband quickly supported me, but my belly still twisted. In that instant, I felt a warm gush below. My water had broken. The police took the baby from my hands and told my husband to quickly take me to the hospital. Chloe suddenly seemed to awaken from a dream, collapsing to her knees with a thud in front of me. I was rushed to the hospital and went straight into the delivery room. Fortunately, my daughter was full term, just like in my previous life, weighing 3 kilos and 300 grams. Her cries were resounding and healthy. Chloe, after being arrested by the police for intentional injury, was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but she didn't live to see her official sentence, dying of kidney failure in the detention center. Ethan, who, to avoid raising the child, abandoned the baby at the door of the Welfare Institute. Unfortunately, he was caught on surveillance camera and prosecuted by the procuratorate for abandonment. Chloe's son remained at the Welfare Institute. Later, I heard he was adopted by a foreign couple. My husband occasionally asked why Chloe ultimately said, I saved her son twice. I was busy changing news diapers, too preoccupied to pay attention to him. Today is our daughter's kindergarten graduation. This unreliable man still has the mind to chat idly here. Where's the bubble dress you made for our daughter? Go check if any of them are deflated. My husband hurriedly replied, clumsily helping our daughter adjust her skirt. Looking at our daughter, who was smiling like a flower before us, like a little princess. I knew that every day from now on would be these kind of simple, joyful days.